So, hello, this is Suzanne Toro, and I'm here with Amanda Sage in her studio in downtown LA. Thank you, Amanda, for joining me.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Or thank you for having me, I should say. It's pretty funny. Thank you for joining me today. Anyways, that's my quirky behavior. We're going to dive into a conversation. I think we're going to start with the eggs because I walked in and Amanda has 5 new pieces, relatively new pieces, ready to take off to Tucson to the gem show. When I met you a year ago, the egg really spoke to me. So if you can share what that means for you and what you're carrying within that vessel, because it really feels like a very powerful vessel that you're holding.
Well, I think you hit that right with it being a vessel, and that's a vessel that can carry anything and can be anything, and every single one is different. Each one is unique. It's the most reduced organic form. And the shape of the egg, I don't even like to call it an egg. It's a seed. It's a doorway. But it's an egg, so I'm happy with that as well. It came to me through a painting that I did very automatically, or that just came through. It was in Bali in 2006. I went there for 2 months on a little vision quest with myself to kind of dive deeper into the visual language and how I was going to communicate what was really wanting to speak through me. And this form, the egg, was brought to me in a painting that I titled Dreams. And it's kind of a self-portrait of me lying there, and a mystical snake is in the sky and has this egg in its mouth. And so off of that, I started doing these paintings using the shape of the egg as the vessel or form that could hold anything. And in that, I felt safe. In that, I felt not judged, or that I had to fit into some other box or paradigm, and free to express. And that has kind of just... I remember when I had that moment of realization, thinking, oh my God, I might be painting these forms for the rest of my life. And that's kind of a freaky notion. But also, it's very limitless. And within that form, I feel like I'm expanding constantly, pressing the boundaries of what is possible to fit into a form. And it's teaching me a lot. And I look forward to painting bigger ones and bigger ones, actually. I see them as doorways, kind of. And what they do, too, the more I've explored this, it's actually, our ethereal bodies are the shape of an egg. The earth is the shape of an egg. Our cells are egg shapes, basically. It's the most reduced organic form, which means it doesn't have a fully symmetrical pattern or blueprint, in a sense. Right. It's kind of like, a little more narrow on one end than the other, but it's one of the strongest forms that exists as well. And it's the form of the seed, of birthing of new life, all the symbolism behind it as well. And it's something that I feel like the shape could possibly, is maybe on a very deep cellular level, speaking to our genetic memory or to our cells, and with my intention of healing and of wanting to find healing on this planet and for people in general and myself and beyond. Maybe they can be of assistance.
Well, and as you're speaking, it's feeling, we have the idea of the egg or the seed and something coming from it, but as you were speaking, it was almost becoming the womb to me again. And if you can talk about your kind of desire to reconnect people back to the earth, and how actually if we go back to that womb environment, or Mother Earth's womb, or wherever you want to call it, or you can give your interpretation, can you speak to that about reconnecting back to those memories and what power we can, or memories we can bring back with us out into the everyday life, and how it can transform us?
Well, I think the egg, it does feel like a womb. It feels like incubation almost within it. But it's like within this perfect form, or realizing that you're perfect, that just allows beauty and like a profound stillness to come through, um, where answers in the narrative of life becomes like a flowing river, and it's not this difficult puzzle to figure out. And I think it's life is just kind of this wave of ups and downs of experience. It's never, I think, trying to attain like one utopic space is illusionary nonsense.
Right.
But I think being able to ride it, in a vessel of your choice is your choice.
Right.
Either you're taken and crashed by the waves, or you get to ride them. That's our choice. And so I think the getting in touch with where we come from is something, I think, just very, very, very integrally important to our future existence on this planet. And I think that maybe the mysteries are being uncovered and reinterpreted in different ways in science and archaeology and religion, all these things. What do they all mean? Are they all interrelated? Because that's also what this form symbolizes to me, is in a way we're all connected. We all come from the same place.
Mm-hmm.
We all are made up of the same stuff. Stardust.
Exactly.
We've got how many little UFOs do we have in our own bodies?
Right.
Or how much do we understand our own bodies? What are we made of? I mean, the mystery just is expanding more and more.
Right.
Yeah, maybe through creativity, and being those kind of direct sources of channeling, or direct channeling broadcasters. We could tap into a collective consciousness that has
Right.
some messages.
Well, and talk about a little bit about that potentiality within your paintings. And you were describing a little bit earlier how, and I have to tell all the listeners, I was so in a witnessing state of Amanda and how detached she is from her creations, which is a very profound place to be. I can speak from firsthand studying, in a creative arts field, that oftentimes it can be very ego-driven, a lot of competition. Sometimes you're trained in such a way that it's hard to remove the I from it. But you've definitely done that. I was really impressed by that. And if you can share, I think that reflects in your paintings about the possibility that the doorways that you're opening to the viewers of your art. And even for a viewer that has the opportunity to go experience any art, if you can share a little bit about the possibility in the creation on on a canvas or wherever they're connecting to any type of art.
Well, I think it's different. I mean, what can be on a canvas, or on a piece of paper, or whatever. It's very much depends on the intention of who's created something. And there can be a depiction of a landscape, of a portrait, of something that's very specific, or a very specific story. But there can also be many interpretations that can be made out of paintings and images that are a little bit more abstract in where they came from. And to me, I feel a little bit more abstract in the sense of not trying to control the outcome, and more allow the painting to tell me where it wants to go, trying to listen. And I feel like the clues that I get from the painting is through color and shape and form. And this goes back to actually a very, it's kind of simple, fundamental little comment that the man that I worked with for many years, this great artist, Ernst Fuchs, in Austria, he made to me. And these are two different times, actually. One was when I was working on this painting, and I just didn't know where to go with it. It was right when I was starting to really paint from my imagination more. And he took this painting and he looked at it and he's like, Amanda, this painting is sick. It's sick. It's suffering. You're just, you're not taking care of it. You need to learn to listen to the painting. And that just hit me so hard that I never forgot that. And I think of that often in terms of You know, when you get stuck in a place of where you just don't see it. What's wrong? You know,
Right.
and that it knows, and so that you can kind of interpret that in life in so many different ways. When you detach yourself
Right.
from your head, from your ego of what you think is right.
Yes.
And then also following color and line and shape and form, these becoming observant to your surroundings and looking for harmony. When you know how harmony, like in music, there are certain notes and harmonies that sound so beautiful together, and then others that are discordant. It's the same with color. And learning about that, you know, it's a very kind of fundamental laws of the universe.
Right.
But once you know them, then you can play with them, and through intention, through feeling, form and color, and light and dark, you can create harmonies that
Are endless.
endless.
So what's your greatest hope? As you mentioned, just realizing maybe you'd be connected to this form. What is, I guess, your current intention? I guess long range is not really being in the moment, but what's your current intention with your work and as you're sharing it with others?
I think, well, definitely my current intention is transformation, and transformation in individuals, and not in everybody. I know that that's not important, but I think, or not, you know,
I know what you mean.
honest, or I mean, I think it's everybody gets to the truth in different ways, but I think that they could be maybe little helping instigators to support something that you feel deep inside, and in a loving, gentle way of opening your heart to the world, you know, and instead of being uptight and afraid and fearful for sickness, for war, for death, for any of these things. I think I would love to see my paintings be a soothing medicine for people.
And so, with that, like saying if we're connected to the fear of something, and you know, then we have this beautiful alchemy in your paintings. And why don't we talk about a couple to share the alchemy of each one of these paintings with the listeners, and they can watch along too, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So when I first got here, we were connecting. Oh, the names. I really like Amanda's like me. She can't remember the names, but we have Mateo, who's very helpful. We might need you here in a few moments.
Okay.
So what we want to start with now, I can't even remember her name.
Subtle Secession.
Subtle Secession. Yeah, let's talk about the alchemy of subtle secession.
Subtle Secession is kind of, I think it's very literal in the sense of what it depicts, and it's kind of the cycle of life, the birth to the blossom, the threefoldness, to kind of the dying point of going back to the earth and going back to the place where we came from when we came into this existence. And so that's that cycle. It's kind of almost like did you see, what was that? I don't remember the name of the movie right now. But it's kind of like this glass ball, this existence of that kind of mirrors the essence of life and the cycle in it.
And for that, if someone's wanting to make peace, I don't know, I'm sensing that this painting can actually help me make peace with the cycle of life.
Yeah.
So for someone, would you say that's part of the medicine that might provide?
Exactly. I think that it's to
be a
okay
reminder.
with it. Be okay with it.
Yeah.
And this is us, and it's the flower is also this beautiful representation of enlightenment in the plant kingdom. And I think we all are representations of light enlightenment. And yeah.
Beautiful. The next painting,
That one we've called Vertex Dawning.
Vertex Dawning. It has so much amethyst energy in it. And
Amethyst and rose quartz, as I thought about a lot too. It has kind of like this, I mean, it's very much about its sound. It has a lot to do with sound, I felt, when I was painting it. And also about memory. I mean, to me, there's all these little crystals in it and the crystals hold all this information. And I think some people have tapped into that. Many have yet, and some people don't know why they like them, but they like them, right? Mm-hmm. And crystals are this kind of ultimate form of vessels of information. And using them to communicate and also to remember. I'm talking a lot about remembering as a clue to finding out where we're going. And so this is kind of like a conversation, or it's like the vertex is about the tipping point. So the tipping point of getting to a point where so many of us are okay and ready for the next step. You know, we're not into being dumbed down into oblivion of consumer madness.
No fear.
Yeah. It's not necessary. We need to evolve, otherwise we're not going to survive on this planet. That's where we're at now in history.
Right.
We can't exploit anymore without having a really detrimental future to the children and everybody. So yeah, that's very much about the awakening point. So maybe it's a sound, maybe it's a frequency, maybe it's something that happens that is just, and that's just it's like a little spaceship, a little UFO, a little
that's
experience.
What you said. I love that.
A little thought. I mean, they're like orbs, too.
Definitely.
And an orb is also, to me, it's kind of like a thought. It's an experience, like any thought or any, we call into reality in terms of when we think about it or when we share it. And then when we paint it, you're creating a new creation,
right? That
exists and has a purpose. And does it have a soul? I don't know. Does it have but there's purpose. I really feel like they all have a purpose.
Definitely. You can feel it.
And that's why I don't, and I'm very all right with letting them go. Sometimes I'll do something and I'm so shocked by it that I have to hold on to it for a little while to figure out where did it come from in a sense. I don't need to know that necessarily, but sometimes it has something for me personally that is very important. Right. But a lot of times too, I discover more through other people observing and talking with them about them.
Right, which was very evident that you in our conversation that you're very open to
because
that.
I paint too. When I paint, I like to have a lot of different things. Sometimes I like it to be completely quiet, but I do like listening to talk radio shows. Mm-hmm. I like listening to a conversation happening over here where I can pipe in sometimes.
Right.
But I like my mind to be activated in a different sense.
Right.
While things are going on.
Almost to allow yourself to just flow through.
Yeah. And then it just flows. It's just,
nice.
It's kind of like this. It makes it easier in a way. Because sometimes I'll just sit there and think, and then I don't want to be thinking when I'm painting. So
yeah. I don't think that's a good idea. Well, it might be a great idea. I don't know.
Sometimes things come through, though, out of nowhere of something where I can think in a clear way about things. Or things that I've been having a really hard time making a decision about will become clearer once I get myself into a space of painting. So painting is definitely very much like a meditation for me.
Right.
But it's also such an intense practice. It's like doing yoga. Like if you haven't done yoga for a while and you get into it, man, your body is just like, oh, why did I stop doing this for a little while? And it's the same thing with painting.
Right. Definitely. It feels like you're creating crystals on canvas to me at this point. That's what it's feeling like. Panacea. Is that right? Panacea?
She's
the special child. Can you share again what you were
Well, she represents the crystal children in a sense too, which is this age that I heard this wonderful just little excerpt about, the indigo children and the crystal children and the rainbow children and what the differences in what they are bringing to the world. And the crystal children are much about love and healing and forgiveness, and they're very very forgiving little humans that have come into situations too that are very, maybe not the best situations at times, but are here to forgive and love. And I think that's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've met quite a few of them where I feel like that's probably true. And so Panacea is about it's the great cure, or the healing, and and then the 4 points, the 4 leaf clover, the 4 hearts, kind of like the 4 directions. It's very, very earth-bound and very balanced.
I was thinking on the way up here, with everything that's coming through, maybe you can speak to this. When you talk about, crystalline children, indigo, rainbow, people have, it appears to me that people are embodying certain codes, certain information, and rather in the past we would go to our elders. If you grew up in a community or a society where you had elders that were housing a certain information, and I would just like your thoughts or opinions, because it was coming as I was driving up here, that actually all the people, the weaving of this planet, we're all have these seeds within us, these memories that we're bringing back to revitalize and rejuvenate planet Earth. So if you can speak to that thought and share your angle or perspective, or
on the elders.
Well, just on the information, even like the crystalline children, all of us that are sent here with some information, because we can connect to maybe a teaching or a thought or a culture that really speaks to us. But the more and more I keep just like stepping back to it, I'm like, I feel like, the Hopis will have a saying that we are the ones that we are waiting for. And then I was just interviewing someone, and he was talking about one of the elders from the Hopi saying, you are the next Indian. So I keep playing that over and over in my head. I'm like, and I feel it's an important message for people to connect with, because oftentimes we might say, well, I'm not the monk in the monastery, but maybe you're the human, or whatever, John in Chicago. You are the monk walking in Chicago. So if you can speak to that, because that was coming to me on the way up, and I feel like you have some words to share with people listening about that.
Oh, I think we totally are. I think I think creativity is one of the key points in this, in realizing that. Because creativity through music, through dance, through painting, through art, in all forms, we realize that we are these amazing creators, even just in life, and creating food and creating our surroundings. And as we become aware of how much power we do have, that's the point of where we realize, wow, this universe is revolving around me, and I am not just this bystander that's being thrown through this. I am choosing all of these little bits and pieces for the most part, or choosing how I'm going to react to them. And when we become reflective of that, then we also see how we're such an important part of this entire system. And so we have so much power, and we have the power to change and to say our next door neighbor isn't. But the internet is connecting us in so many different ways. We can find communities where we are creating tribes through the internet now that is strengthening the entire vibration of this planet. It is empowering the galactic tribe, or whatever is happening, or this earth tribe that transcends all of the nations and all of the colors and all of the ages. The little ones and the older ones and the ones in the middle. We're all ready for this. Like it's like the new, or not the new. It's not even new. It's time for this to happen.
Right.
There's no prophecy or anything that I think says it in the one best way. I feel like there's truth in so many of them. And a lot of them are pointing to this time. So you can't really deny it. You spend a little bit of time researching it and feeling it out for yourself. And to me, I can't imagine doing anything different or being, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what I came here for.
Exactly.
And then nothing else is more exciting. What would be more exciting to earn $100,000 a year? That would, why not? I'd make food forests all over the place, right? Or do all kinds, and we will. We're going to do all of it and more. I think the dreaming factor is a huge one.
Right.
And through dreams, if we can help train ourselves and each other to talk about our dreams and then to travel in our dreams, to wake up in our dreams, this is going to be one of the places where we are already connecting, but we're still very disconnected from.
Right.
Because of how dense we are in this physical form.
Yeah.
But we're evolving.
We're evolving. So speak about dreams. I'm an avid lucid and astral traveler myself. And from that comment, let's talk a little bit about it for the listeners that may not remember their dreams. And maybe you can share from your own experience how to start remembering. And then also what I was sensing, if you could speak a little bit about the realities, because we're so conditioned that this is the only reality. But if you have astral traveled or lucid traveled, you are very aware that, or you may not be aware, I don't know, but I've become very aware that that reality is just as real as this reality, sometimes more, and whatever that means. But so if you can share a little bit from your own experience, and then about what you've experienced that started to happen when you become more of a participant in that dimension.
Yeah. I have had different phases in my life where dreams have played a major influence, or where I've remembered them very, very vividly, or when I haven't. And it has to do a lot with focus. When you're focused on wanting to remember your dreams or want to participate in that, I find it much easier to remember them. When you have an intention before you go to sleep of remembering, and then you wake up and you allow yourself a little bit of time to remember and to jot it down or to talk about it with somebody. I get what has happened to me a lot in the last, I'd say, year, maybe a couple years. I get a lot of messages from other people that I appear in their dreams, and in very many different ways, but often as in a very real lucid form, where I appear and I say something, or I go on an adventure with them or something, and then I leave. And it's a very apparent, arrival and departure kind of a thing. And these things I don't remember at all. But I would love to get, I feel like, there's even intense kind of pockets of where this happens, where I'll do a lot of traveling, even in just one night, and get 2 or 3 messages from people, oh, you were in my dream. And I can even feel it in myself. I'm doing something and I'm not totally aware of it.
Right.
And this, I think when you start to pay more attention to it, just in general, thinking about dreaming, maybe read a little bit more about it, you'll start observing that this is already happening to you anyway. Right. When you go to sleep at night, where do you go? And if you don't, you're like, oh, I don't dream. That's not true.
Yes.
So, and then, the veil is lifting, is really truly what I believe. And I think, and it's not just because I listen to all kinds of crazy stuff, which I do as well, but the veil is lifting. And what it is, and all of us have had these experiences of synchronicity, or of something is like you're thinking of somebody and they call, or the little things, and you can brush it off 1 time, 2 time, here and there. But it's happening, and it's happening more and more frequent. And so what does that mean? I think that means that we're becoming more attuned to some other senses. So maybe the animal kingdom is very attuned to. How do they converse? And they converse through the liminal side of the brain, through a certain kind of telepathic. And we have that ability as well. We're made up of water. And water, how does water water communicates with itself instantaneously. And so somewhere along the line, we kind of disconnected from that form of communication. But I think I know we're going back there. And I think all the little things that are getting us there, like the internet, like the cell phones, these are all little like objects that are symbolizing.
Right. Which is a great point to point out to people, is they think more and more our technology is going to get more and more advanced. And from what I'm hearing you saying and what I feel myself too, is that actually the technology will, in many cases, will disappear.
Yeah.
Because we will remember that we can communicate just instantaneously. I can instant message you from mind to mind, you know.
I think it's interesting to think about. This was brought up with a very dear friend of mine, Jim Shannon, who is the head of the New Earth Army, or the First Earth Battalion. The fascinating concepts, and if you don't know who Jim Shannon is, please look him up on YouTube. There are lots of videos. But we were talking about this just recently, how the etiquette of telepathic communication. And I thought that was just a fascinating thought to think about, you know, because when there is no censorship in terms of you know, when it's all open, that opens up a lot, you know, and we can see into each other's.
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, you need to be etiquette, and then you have to also realize if you can read thoughts, they can hear your thoughts too. So as your telepathy increases, be aware that you're going to be broadcasting at all times. So that's a good reason to have a clear mind.
A clear mind, but I think it's accepting yourself, and then really getting in touch with what is your truth? What are you wanting to express and teach the world? What are you here for? And being honest, you know, really, really honest with what is your message? What is your mission? What is your desire?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So as we talk about telepathy and tipping, well, we're on the tipping point, but we're going to go to anomaly. Now I have a whole new understanding of anomaly because I was trained a different way with the word. The magic. So
the magic of the planet, basically, of existence, is a very scientific, and I didn't know this before either. I was very blessed with my dear partner Matteo helping me name all these paintings, which I think is so exciting, because I like to know, like, well, what are they really? I don't know. Can you tell me? And then we'll figure it out together. And so the anomaly point is this point 4 degrees Celsius, where water freezes, where it expands. And this is something that I guess isn't really able to, like, people don't know why. Science hasn't figured out necessarily why it does this, right? It does it, and it allows for us to flourish on this planet and life to flourish.
Right.
And so that's fascinating.
Well, and it's fascinating for me, as I explained to you earlier, is that in architecture school we used it so if we were using symmetrical patterns, even sacred geometries, we could throw in one thing that did not fit the pattern, and that was the anomaly. But when you look at this painting, you see how symmetrical, and it's infinite.
Yeah.
And I guess if you have an anomaly, it is infinite, because you can always throw in some random thing, and you know, of course, a pattern can keep going, but you have infinite options to keep adding those anomalies.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the thing is also, this is something to mention with my paintings, they're also, as symmetrical as they are, they're not symmetrical.
Right.
And that's just like us, because people ask me all the time if I use like a pattern, you know, if I trace one side and then kind of put on the other, and I don't. If you really look at them, none of them are like that.
Yeah.
None of them are symmetrical.
Yeah, I'm like taking them in right now. Definitely not. No, that one's totally a different shape.
And so the adventure with it, though, for me, is finding the harmony. Mm-hmm. So I'm constantly, as I'm painting, constantly looking for the balance, but not looking for the perfection of reproduction.
Right.
Because every new thing that comes out of me is unique. Mm-hmm. Just the same, every new word and thought, ultimately, that comes out of us is in some way or shape or fashion new. Because it's based on an extended experience from this or that, or you're in a new space, or you're realizing something in a new way.
Right.
It's all unique.
Definitely.
Everything on this planet is unique.
Yeah. Just like when you give birth to a child, it's unique. Everyone's different. If you have siblings or witnessed other relations, and we're all very unique.
Wow. I mean, it's just such an amazing museum of creation, this planet. It's so exquisite.
It is. I love it. I love humanity. That's my phrase. I love humanity. It's just
And nature.
Nature too,
Oh,
Mother
my.
Nature. This painting, and I'm now forgetting what was.
I don't know. We had something with verdict in here, and I'm not quite sure yet either about like the name of it yet, because it's very much. It has to do with the really base skeleton form of the water molecule and of creation in a sense, which is the 6 points, which is the balance of the feminine and the masculine, and so many of the two pyramids,
Right.
the up and the down, right? And I see it as being kind of a pattern, blueprint of existence in a sense. And it's kind of like this birthing. I mean, birthing, of course, the egg in the center, but that has nothing in it. You know, that's still, it's kind of this blank, open force. But these kind of identical patterns coming off of it with the eyes. I don't quite know what's going on here yet, but it's
really powerful, and it's actually morphing. Like from when we first started talking about it, and now it's taking on this whole new dimension for me, and I'm actually harmonically feeling it in my body.
Yeah.
So it's a really powerful painting. So I think its resonance is shifting. I don't know. It's shifting for me, and yeah, it's really. So when you talk about two things I was thinking of asking you is one, masculine and feminine, the balancing between the two, bringing harmony back into the planet. If you could speak to it from your own experience, and then how you've expressed it in your work or your life.
Well, I think in general we could all agree that balancing is where is a nice, healthy kind of place to be in once you're balanced. You know, you're not on one extreme or the other. Or that would be the goal, I think, for many in terms of psychological or nutrition or to be in a balanced lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can find the balance of the masculine and the feminine in ourselves, in our lives. And it's necessary to kind of reflect. There's no extreme direction. You know, when we've been experiencing a couple thousand years plus of patriarchal societies, it doesn't mean that we need to go in the extreme other direction of the matriarchal.
Right.
But now more than ever, it's about coming together of the two in a harmonious kind of relationship. That's my quacking duck.
And the duck concurs.
I like ducks. So I feel like to seek out that balance, you know, some of us have an experience or a history of one being stronger than the other, masculine or feminine in ourselves, and finding ways to balance out the whatever we're lacking. I mean, same thing in nutrition.
Right.
Food is very important. Medicine. Mm-hmm. It is a medicine that we're putting into our bodies. And if we become more conscious of what we're eating, the people we're surrounding ourselves with, it will play a big role on our experience.
Definitely. Connecting back to the whole system.
Yeah, whole system. Yeah, I get it. There's no need for us to be eating lots of processed food that is dead.
Yeah.
It's not conducive to our...
I can't even go into a regular grocery store or whatever that means, but you know what I mean, where there's just, it's all boxed and packaged.
No, it's I mean,
get-
you can still find stuff in there. You can find raisins and nuts and
right.
and
Yeah, I
vegetables.
just get sad.
Yeah,
I actually
it's sad.
get sad.
It is. It is. But these are the people that I want to talk to.
Right.
I would love to see art and
That would be beautiful.
all of these things to be in a there's no commitment to any dogma.
Yep.
It's all about just feeling good.
Right.
And
that would be beautiful. Well, I would love to see one of your paintings on the floor versus, whatever brand might be advertising combined in with some pop culture.
Maybe we can also connect more with advertising.
I think that you just inspired something.
Because I don't mind, as long as it's something, a company. I mean, this is what I tell people. I am open to any form of reproduction of things as long as the intention and the integrity behind.
Well, that's the beauty is that what we can do with the transformation. You come from a culture, pop culture, where they've used certain mechanisms to create a consuming society quite systematically. So we can use the same technology, the same methodology to create a more harmonious society with a different outcome. So it's kind of exciting. So
I mean, I've definitely experienced there being through an image, painting live. When I've painted live before, the experiences some people will tell me after them spending time watching and being a part of it, of what it awakens in them with tears in their eyes. And, I feel like I can go home and pick up the brush again after not touching the paintbrush for 10 years. And that empowerment is what I'm interested in.
Right.
Empowering individuals.
So inspiration, you're inspiring. And how do you encourage other people to inspire each other?
Inspire each other. Be an interesting person. Be interested in things. Be interested in learning. And I think when you open up those gateways of not just talking about what you know, but being curious, you will attract to yourself so many amazing experiences and wealth of knowledge that you can continue to share, of course. But I think opening up outside of just our realms of who we think we are and what we think is right, then we can really, it's a multidimensional reality existence that we live in. And I think that is what is becoming apparent. And if you want to resist it, you can resist it. But I think that's the more uncomfortable path.
Yeah. Potentially, yes.
Potentially. I mean, right now we're still, I just really, just in a very, very, real, something you can touch and feel, this planet needs just the food, just our fundamental needs of water, clean air, and good food. Yep. If we just focused on those things,
right,
we would start healing.
Definitely.
Healing our bodies and the planet. Yeah.
Thank you. I love the reminders you're sharing. And one last question, because I want to share, like from a woman to a woman, how women can embrace each other, because as we are shifting and as we're balancing out, there is the possibility of going to another extreme. And I think it's my vision to really honor and nurture both male and female, but really encourage women to open up their hearts to each other and come together as a tribe. So if you can share your view on that or words of wisdom.
I am greatly empowered to be around empowered women and women that have become self-realized in a sense of their gifts and their nurturing and very introspective, creative selves. I think we have so much to share together in communities where we can be a voice that is from many, and we all have gifts to share. And I think women have this kind of more of a inclusive, sharing nature.
Mm-hmm.
And there can also be the opposite, you know, there can also be jealousy and this and this, you know, that's so unnecessary. I think we all have so much to give and share, and we can also at some be like, well, I don't know what I have to, you know, that's a really real statement, and I don't know either sometimes. I see nothing sometimes. I fall into a pit of oblivion. But what I do know is that if I, you know, when you get to the bottom, the only way to go is up.
You
You know?
Mom. That's what she always says.
It's so true. I think my mom probably said that too.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's out there, you know, they reach out into different groups and communities. And I think the world is very receptive now to the voice of the woman and wanting it more than anything. And I think we need to empower the men as well.
I do too. We need the men.
Of course.
I really empower the men.
Yeah, because their place too is kind of confusing in a sense, because they're like, especially ones that are very sensitive, extremely sensitive to everything that's going on. It's like, well, I'm supposed to be this, fit into this system in this way, and this, like, where do I stand?
Yeah.
How can I? And yeah, we need to talk more. I think encouraging people to communicate with each other and to write, you know, just get into forums where they can communicate and bring this stuff out, I think is very powerful in healing. It's about creating this mycelium network.
I love that you use that.
Yeah, that's something we've been talking about a lot, is the mycelium network.
Yeah, mycelium.
For
those don't know, mushrooms.
Mushrooms, that's the network. You know,
Yep,
they're
so powerful healing. And
what the mycelium network does in the forest is it's the driving life force, and it is absolutely amazing. It's like it can be compared to the internet, right? And it's even more advanced, of course. And this is what we need, or what we're doing, you know, with people that are desiring a better future, are connecting through a network of using the internet and using, you know, their vocal cords and their ways of connecting. And I know it's global. It's not
Definitely.
just something that's, you know, concentrated in one little area.
Yeah, I think we're witnessing it over the past couple of weeks between countries in Africa and then in Egypt.
Yeah.
We've witnessed that uprising.
Well, this is where also, like, when you think about language, okay, we're speaking in English now, and many people that use the internet, for an example, do speak English, or maybe can understand a little bit, but, you know, the music and the visual language are such powerful communicators because they transcend language.
Right.
And so using symbols and colors and frequency, sound frequency.
Which I think is so important right now. I'm glad you brought that up, is the transition right now that we're in. Our language is changing. So sometimes I'm just personally feeling that there's no room for words anymore until, like, I feel, just maybe for me personally, I like get into another point of myself, but that almost the colors, the art, the music, the harmonics are what are creating that bridge, that transition for us.
Yeah.
So you are so important to this transition because you're creating this medium that we can all dive into, and we don't even, you know, yeah, we can have a conversation about it, but we can also just enjoy the frequency. Like that one painting's really, you know, really speaking to me over there. I'm going to have some kind of conversation with it. So
maybe it'll whisper that's named to you too.
Maybe.
That would be nice to know.
So, yeah, I have to take a little photo on my phone so I can stare at it further.
I also am very, like, inspired by teaching more and more and speaking out through the medium of empowering people with really specific techniques too. And I think it really goes back to the simple base forms of how do you do something, or what are the first steps of getting to something, you know, when you're learning how to talk, you're learning how to walk, you're learning how to, they're very, like, primal based things, but we've been disempowered in many ways from, say, painting.
Right.
As children, at some point, we just did it, right? And then at some point, you know, you get more intrigued with this or that, or, you know, it's just not supported or continued. But with painting, I'd like to share it with many more people.
Oh, good.
How, you know, what are the ways that I got there to be able to paint something that I saw, and then to paint the unseen beyond that. And so I will be teaching more, and I'm planning to do 2 workshops actually in April.
Okay, where are they?
One's going to be in Boulder, Colorado.
All right.
That's going to be April 18th through the 22nd.
Okay.
It's a 5-day workshop, and then I'm doing one in Chicago as well. The date hasn't been completely confirmed for that, but probably the last week.
Great.
In April.
Well, and I highly encourage, because the more people I talk to, the girl that doesn't want to talk, but that goes around talking to a lot of people, but to pick up a paintbrush, to pick up any kind of mode of creation. So thank you for being there to help people take those steps, because I just hear it more and more, people wanting to express themselves. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be your career.
No.
And it might end up being. So
and it doesn't have to be a masterpiece either.
Exactly.
And don't be discouraged. People get so discouraged right in the beginning. You know, and you just keep flowing with it. You know, flow with it and let it kind of like guide you. Right. And there's one more workshop I'd like to announce is in Italy.
Ooh.
And this is going to be the 4th year, I think, actually. 3rd or 4th year. And it's called Visions in the Mish Technique, which is teaching the very kind of base original kind of technique of the technique that I use, called the Mish Technique, using egg tempera and oil glazes. And this goes back to the early Renaissance. Nice. And I will be teaching it along with Lawrence Caruana at this eco-village in Italy that is absolutely amazing.
Are you at Darmanhur?
Not at Darmanhur.
Okay.
It's it's a few hours from there, and it's right near Nice, right near Ventimiglia, and it's in an old medieval kind of apartment complex, is what it seems like. I mean, that's how I would describe it, but it's transformed into an eco-village now. And it's on this beautiful river, 15 minutes from the ocean. And it's absolutely heavenly. It's a 3-week seminar. And Andrew Gonzalez will be joining us, teaching the airbrush workshop, and Maura Holden probably will as well. So it's an amazing experience.
Sounds like heaven. Yeah, and what a great healing experience. Yeah. I encourage people to also can heal through inspiration and expression. So,
of course. Any
of you that are out there thinking you want to go be silent with yourself, maybe take an art workshop with Amanda. I think that would be an amazing way to heal and reconnect with yourself. How can everyone find you?
You can find me on the internet, amandasage.com.
All right.
And then multiple places. Also, if you're ever in Los Angeles, make sure to check out the Temple of Visions Gallery, which is a gallery that I helped start, and it's on Spring Street in downtown Los Angeles. And it's a very beautiful space.
Perfect. And she will, if you're at the Tucson Gem Show, this will be my goal to get it up immediately. You'll get put ahead of other people. She'll be down in Tucson this week too.
Yes, I'll be there from the 3rd through the 8th, I think, and that's the Temple of Eden. It'll be a beautiful space that'll be open from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m., I think, every day throughout the Gem Show.
Perfect. It sounds like a good way to disconnect from the fluorescent lights and bright lights. Go to the Temple of Eden. Sounds like a perfect place to be.
Go have a smoothie and look at art and listen to great music.
Nice. Well, Amanda, thank you so much. I'm just excited to know more about you and see that we have very similar interests, and so thank you for shining your light and being here and being so open to share your creations.
Oh, it's inspiring to me.
Thank you.